So today we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if Vietnam tries to form an empire in the modern day. Now Vietnam right here is a pretty strong country. They have a lot of population, they have a lot of active duty personnel, and so they have the potential to expand. Now Vietnam right here has some opportunities to expand. They have these weaker countries on the western borders, and before even militarizing their country for expansions, we can see that the Vietnamese right away declare war on Cambodia. Yeah, that's how confident they are, and I mean they should be. So let's see. We can see that the Vietnamese are now pushing into Cambodia, pushing in from the north. We can see that they also push in from the south, making some smaller gains in the beginning. The Cambodians do hold off at first, but after the arrival of fresh troops from Vietnam, they're not able to push these guys back anymore. The northern troops now push down, connecting up with these two armies. This encircled part surrenders, and we can see that one giant push is being made towards the capital city of Cambodia. The capital city fell. They make another spearhead here, cutting Cambodia into two parts. But after all of this chaos, we can see that the remaining parts of Cambodia just go ahead and surrender, as they lost pretty much all of their country, and there was no possible way that they could have won this war. In a peace negotiation, we can see that all of Cambodia got completely annexed by the Vietnamese, or what we call the Vietnamese Empire now, because they have started their expansions. They're not only going to focus on their land military, but they're also building a very formidable navy. Over here, they're investing a lot of money in that too. They also are recruiting fresh troops from all over the country, training them in the best possible ways, because they're gonna have to go to the front lines in the very near future. And so after all of these preparations, we can see that the Vietnamese, a few years after the Cambodian invasion, now declare war on Laos because they are confident. Also, we're gonna be ignoring the terrain. I don't know, I just don't want to keep that in. We can see that the Vietnamese start pushing in from the south, pushing the Laos troops back, but Laos military also comes into action as they start their own push into Vietnam. Now because of this unexpected push made by Laos, the Vietnamese troops in the south accelerate their push, also sending some of the troops up north, who arrived just in time to push these guys back before they could cut off Vietnam into two parts. These troops were pushed back all the way to their borders, and the Vietnamese make their own push in the north. Down in the south, the Vietnamese are making significant gains. These northern troops now push down, cutting off these soldiers from the main armies. These guys surrender, and a combined Vietnamese army now pushes into Laos. They lost their capital city, and after pretty much losing most of their military, we can see that the remaining parts of Laos go ahead and surrender. And once again, we can see that all of Laos got completely annexed by the Vietnamese Empire. And hold on, this kind of reminds me of something. I'm pretty sure it's nothing. But yeah, this war did bolster the morale amongst the soldiers, who after winning against both these countries are very motivated. Their morale is at its all-time highest, and the Vietnamese still continue their militarization process. They keep on recruiting more troops, making their navy even more formidable, and investing a lot of money into their military because they have to expand. But their next invasion is not going to be a land invasion. They're gonna put their navy to test, and they're gonna go ahead and declare war on Malaysia, purely for expansion purposes. We don't care about the relations that they have with each other. So yeah, let's see. We can see that the Vietnamese navy now has arrived on the coast of Malaysia on both sides. They make a naval landing on the border with Brunei. We can see that they make another naval landing down in the south, pushing around and securing the southern tip. They make another naval landing over here, pushing around, where now they control a significant amount of land in the eastern parts. The Malaysian military now comes into action, and they do manage to push back these troops in the western parts, but the Vietnamese are still pushing around in the east. The troops up here also push around now. They cut off Malaysia into two parts here, where these southern parts are now fully encircled. They go ahead and surrender. Over here in the western parts of Malaysia, the Vietnamese make another naval landing, this time up here in the north. Their main goal is to get to the capital city of Kuala Lumpur. Over here in the eastern parts, the stalemate was finally broken. The remaining Malaysian army is now being pushed back, and now because they're not getting any support from the western parts, this army goes ahead and surrenders finally. And with all hopes lost, a very demoralized Malaysian army makes a last-ditch attempt to push back the Vietnamese. This attempt fails as they were heavily outnumbered, and finally after a very long time, the Malaysian capital city of Kuala Lumpur was taken, and And with most of their military gone, the remaining parts of Malaysia surrender. This was a decisive victory for the Vietnamese, though they did suffer from a lot of casualties, but it was all worth it because Malaysia is a very strategic country, and in a peace negotiation, all of Malaysia got completely annexed. Of course, for obvious reasons, the primary goal of the Vietnamese was to expand, so that does kind of make sense. But the Vietnamese are not going to stop here, even though this was a pretty major war, but that was still not enough. After a few more years of preparations, the Vietnamese are going to go after a very major country. Of course, this country is going to be Thailand, which itself is a pretty strong country right now. But the Vietnamese, after all these preparations and after militarizing their country for so long, are probably way stronger than the Thai. But let's see. We can see that the Vietnamese start their push from the south, pushing back the Thai troops who were caught completely off guard, but eventually are stalemated. The Vietnamese also push in from Cambodia, or what was previously Cambodia, getting dangerously close to the capital city of Bangkok. But these guys are also stalemated now. They make another push in from the north, once again with the goal of getting to the capital city of Bangkok. But yeah, after organizing their military, we can see that Thailand was able to push these guys back. They also were able to push these guys back in the north, pushing them back all the way to their borders. However, in the south, the Vietnamese are gaining ground as they secure this entire tail. But once again, they are stalemated. The Thai military now goes on the offensive, pushing into Vietnam and securing some of these regions. They also push up in the north, pushing back the Vietnamese. And things may not be looking very good for the Vietnamese, as they're now losing ground in the mainland. But to everyone's surprise, this is pretty much what they wanted, with most of Thailand's military now in mainland Vietnam, pushing the Vietnamese back. The Vietnamese actually had organized their navy to make a naval landing down here, which they do so successfully. We can see that the Vietnamese now push into a severely undefended Thailand, where most of their troops were not even here. They easily get to the capital city of Bangkok. The Battle of Bangkok ends in a decisive Vietnamese victory. The Thai have lost their morale. They also lose ground in the south, and all the troops here were lost. Eventually, the Vietnamese start pushing back these guys too, who now have lost all of their morale. The troops up in the north also go ahead and surrender, and the Vietnamese once again start their push into Thailand, securing all of the southern regions. But with their capital city gone, alongside with most of their military, we can see that the remaining parts of Thailand go ahead and surrender, and this was by far one of the best victories for Vietnam. They took out a very major country with strategic plans, and then this kind of happens. Also, Brunei got invaded at some point. They're gone, but the Vietnamese empire is now looking very good. They still are not going to stop their invasions, I repeat. Now that they have control over all of Thailand, they got a lot of resources from there, and so they are even more strong now. The Vietnamese empire wastes no time, and after just a few months of the invasion of Thailand, they declare war on Myanmar. So yeah, once again we can see that the Vietnamese start their push from the south, securing the tail of Myanmar. Myanmar has not a good military at all, so the Vietnamese are not facing any issues. They secure all these regions with relative ease, and they now start pushing up. And at some point, they were able to take the capital city alongside with some other major cities. They lose all of their coastline, and now with the important parts of their country gone, the remaining parts of Myanmar surrender. This was a pretty easy invasion for the Vietnamese, and wow, would you look at this? Most of Southeast Asia is now under the Vietnamese control, but they have one final country to invade right here, and that country is going to be Taiwan. Now, China's reaction to this is pretty interesting. China claims Taiwan, and they cannot tolerate the Vietnamese taking Taiwan. So yeah, this kind of happens. The Taiwanese and the Chinese are not on the same team here. It's just that both of them are now at war with the Vietnamese, and guess what? Yup, China's about to fall apart. And you want to know how much? This much. This is not enough. This much. And if this is also not enough, then we would say this much. Unrealistic, I know. The Vietnamese took Taiwan, and now let's look at a peace negotiation. Yeah, this. And this is going to be the Vietnamese empire at its peak. I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. You can expect more mapping content here. Join the Discord server via the link in the description. Subscribe to the second channel. So this is going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you for watching.